Good evening and welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you have had a great day. I am excited. Boy, we started off this week of wellness with a bang last night with Devin, and the conversation continues tonight with Effie. For all of you who will be catching the broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, this week-long series is all about wellness. And for my viewers who will be watching the broadcast live, do me a favor. Whenever you get on, go ahead and jump in the comments. Let me know where you are watching the broadcast from on tonight. As always, we're just going to give everyone a moment or two to get on the broadcast before we get started, and we'll be ready to go in just a moment or two. Go ahead and tag your friends and share this broadcast with them as well. Hey, Thomas, thank you so much for being on the broadcast tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our Ray of Motivation moment. Just want to ask you, where do you belong? Where do you belong? I don't know how many of you all are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it is a pyramid of a great psychologist who basically came up with these needs that almost every single human has. And that need to belong is right there in the middle. It's very important. During this time of isolation, quarantining, and sheltering in place, it's very important that we all feel like we belong somewhere. Whether you are single, whether you're married, whether you're divorced, whether you live in a home, whether you live in an apartment, whether you live in a rural area, it's important to stay connected and to feel that sense of belonging. Maybe you can connect with individuals from high school, maybe individuals from college, someone from your place of worship, even some of your old neighborhoods, particularly for those people who may have relocated recently and are still building their social network. If you haven't figured out right now where you belong, I encourage you to find some places of connection. In this era of the internet age, it's pretty easy to connect with people. On social media, for example, Facebook has many groups that are put together by common interest. There is a website called Meetup where you can actually meet up with strangers that you meet on the internet who also share common interests. Now, I don't know how often and in what ways meetups are happening right now during the pandemic, but again, there are so many ways to stay connected to make sure that you truly feel that you belong. And that is your Ray of Motivation moment for this Tuesday edition of the Angela Ray Show. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are in the midst of this Great series. I know I learned a lot last night, and I can't wait to learn even more tonight. Tonight, I have a very special guest by the name of Effie Spurlin. She is a licensed massage therapist. She's been working doing body work for over 21 years. She's a lymphatic drainage therapist, as well as a breast health education coach. And it is definitely an honor to have her on the Angela Ray Show. So, everyone, please help me welcome Effie. Effie, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you very much for being here.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited to kick off this conversation. Now, you've been involved in working with bodywork for over 21 years.
Mhm.
How did you get into the wellness space?
Well, back in the 70s, when I first graduated from college, I was actually a respiratory therapist and a pulmonary function technician. So I had a biological background and worked in the hospital at that time. And then I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom for many years. And then once my children left home, I thought, what am I going to do with myself? So at that point, I went into massage school because I had obviously decent hands, and because we massaged our when our family got together on 4th of July, we would do a lot of massaging of each other's feet and that kind of stuff. So I didn't really know what I was going to do at that point. So I went into massage school, and at that point, it just parlayed into a beautiful future for me.
Okay. Now, the world is, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. The CDC has issued guidelines for us, everything from wearing masks to staying 6 feet apart, making sure you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds, et cetera, et cetera. But how would you say wellness factors into working with those CDC guidelines?
Well, according to the city's guidelines, we have to take X precautions, certain precautions, which are very helpful to prevent the spread of the virus that we're dealing with right now.
Hmm.
And to prevent that virus, we have to, of course, use the protection of the mask to eliminate the virus from being passed from person to person. Uh, what we want to do is to develop a healthy immune system so that no matter what virus comes along, that our immune system is healthy enough to protect ourselves and to fight that virus. So to do that, we need to improve our immune system, which is actually our lymphatic system. I know we've all heard of our immune system, but our lymphatic system is what actually makes the immune system healthy. And by doing that, there are certain things we need to do. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of knowledge or not a lot of information that's been given to us out there about the lymphatic system. So that's sort of one of our specialties. So we are really big about educating individuals on exactly how to improve the immune system. And the number one way about it, first of all, let me explain what the immune system is. The immune system is a series of lymphatic tubules that takes away fluid that's around the cells. And that fluid that's around the cells contains toxins, viruses, large proteins, and other particles that the vascular system, the venous return system, cannot carry off. So it's very important that this lymphatic system work well. And for it to work well, we have to be very hydrated. We have to be drinking at least 1/2 of your body weight in ounces of water. So if I'm 100 and say 40 pounds, I need 70 ounces of water, good, clean, filtered water every day for this lymphatic system to move properly. And then in this lymphatic system is where our lymph nodes are located. And in the lymph nodes is where we fight our infection, all the viruses and all the pathogens that we're exposed to. So if we're dehydrated, this whole system will not travel well, will not filter through the body well. So it's critical that we're drinking at least 1/2 of our body weight in ounces of water for this system to work properly. Okay, and then once this fluid is picked up around the cells, it goes into the lymphatic system, and then the immune system, which is basically the lymph nodes, find a pathogen or a virus. That message is sent to the brain. The brain then sends information down to the lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes do clean out the and kill the different viruses that we're exposed to. But once again, unless we're very, very hydrated and this lymphatic system is actually moving, then it's very diminished. And that is your immune system. So the weaker your lymphatic system, the weaker your immune system. Okay.
So is that why when you go to, I remember, I think it was some part-time work I was doing with medical school students another lifetime ago, where I would come into a clinical skills lab with, presenting with, pretend symptoms. And oftentimes they would like feel under my chin to feel if my lymph nodes were swollen, because swollen lymph nodes was an indication that something wasn't right.
Exactly. And what's so important is if a lymph node is swollen, it's fighting the infection. So it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So to help that lymph node clear the infection, we should massage those lymph nodes and drink a lot more water. Get rest, but we should actually massage those lymph nodes to get that fluid moving through the body and into the heart, and then it goes into the different organs so that the pathogens or the viruses that are being killed can be washed out via, our other systems, is what we do. So we have to use this increased hydration, which we're very depleted on in our world that we live in, especially now that we're wearing masks, where it's difficult. It's really, really difficult. It's a real strain on the lymphatic system right now to be able to get enough hydration in to do that. Let me give you a little example. All right. I like to compare the body to a sponge. Okay. If I were to do dishes have dinner last night, have a cheese pizza. Okay. And I cleaned up my dishes with a sponge, and there was cheese left in my sponge. Okay. And I forgot to clean it out last night. Okay. So in the morning, what would I do to clean out the sponge? I would pour a lot of water on the sponge, and I would squeeze the sponge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe add some soap to it, but we would keep adding more water and keep squeezing. So what we want to do with our body is we want to hydrate our body with a lot of water, and then we want to move the lymphatic system, massage those areas where we have the lymph nodes to help move those pathogens and toxins out of the way and get them into the system so they can be detoxed through our regular systems. So our body is nothing but a large sponge that needs to be rinsed out continually with hydration. And then you have to have movement, because the lymphatic system does not get a kick from the heart, just like our venous return and our arterial blood and venous return. We get a kick from the heart to move our blood through our body, but this lymphatic system does not get a kick from the heart at all. It does have a little bit of contracture to it, but it does not get a kick from the heart. So we need to either be moving, like bouncing on a mini trampoline, standing on a vibration plate, or exercising, walking, running, doing yoga, but moving our joints, moving all of our joints, which will help move this fluid, this lymphatic fluid, through the system into the heart so that it can be cleaned out. But without hydration, we are really behind. We're really in trouble without that. So there's twofold right now. Number one, usually we're not drinking enough water as it is. Number two, with the wearing of the mask, unfortunately, it's really cut down on a lot of healthcare providers from drinking a lot of water. In our clinic, we have to wear masks because it's part of the FDA, the rules and regs right now. So we have to wear masks for multiple reasons. Number one, we don't want to share what we have going on, or we don't want to receive what our clients have. But we have to wear these masks, which is preventative, and it's very good. But it does prevent us from being able to drink a lot of water in the situation. So it's something we're going to have to deal with right now. It's manageable, and we just have to drink more water when we have an opportunity to take the mask off. But without drinking a lot of water, we cannot get this lymphatic system moving.
So we got a really good real-time question about lymph nodes. Can you see it on the screen?
Yes. Okay. If you don't have lymph nodes, had everything removed. Oh, due to thyroid cancer. Okay. All right. First of all, according to the Chickley lymphatic system, if we had 700 lymph nodes in our body, about 400 are in our gut, okay? And wherever there's a cell, there are lymph nodes. So when they say they've removed all of the lymph nodes in the thyroid area, which is what she's speaking of, it's number one, it's near impossible to remove all the lymph nodes, okay? Number two, we can reteach that lymphatic system how to run just by retouching those areas. We all understand a lot of women have had lymph nodes removed from under their arm for breast cancer. Okay, so what we can do with this system is superhydrate and then teach that lymphatic system to go to another gathering area. So in the case of a thyroid though, all right, everything in the thyroid is coming down to this clavicular chain right across the clavicle here. So I'm sure they took out many lymph nodes. So what we would do is to continually massage this area to retrain that lymphatic system, to redevelop these tubes so that we can get this fluid out of the way. So even if you have multiple lymph nodes removed under the arm, we can reroute fluid in another direction. We can actually take fluid from here and take it across the other side of the body. There's a way of called rerouting the lymphatic system. So there's always a way around, even if they've taken out a lot of lymph nodes.
Wow.
Okay. So the question is for that particular lady would be, is her neck swollen? Is her face swollen? You know, because if they took out a lot of the lymph nodes at the thyroid, you know, we can reconnect that with the proper touch.
Well, that is good to know. So you mentioned that there are a lot of lymph nodes in the stomach. And so is that why immune health is also centered in the stomach?
Absolutely. The stomach or the abdominal area is considered our second brain. It's sometimes you hear it called the second brain, okay? Because what happens is when we take in, and I'm going to call it the SAD diet, which is standard American diet, which is high in gluten, high in sugar, high in dairy. All of those are inflammatory. And when we take those into our gut, sometimes they don't get digested properly because we don't have the proper pH or the proper nutrients in the stomach to digest that. And it's called leaky gut syndrome, which is where
I've heard of that. I don't know what it is, but I've heard of it.
All right, leaky gut is where we have our intestines and we take in things into our system that are not as digestible, like for instance, gluten, which is can be an irritant to a lot of people. It is very inflammatory, and what happens is that gluten gets across the brain, the barrier in the intestines, and then the immune system, which is very active in the intestines, goes danger. There's items coming through here that are not real. In other words, this gluten is really not real food. Some foods are like dairy. Some of the things we eat, which are so processed, the body does not see them as legitimate food. And so the immune system says, danger, we have foreign objects here. So the immune system sends all kinds of inflammation and fighters in a sense, to destroy this item that is a foreign substance coming into the intestines. So it puts the whole body on an alarm, causing large inflammation in the gut. So that's leaky gut, where the wrong items are getting through the gut into the immune system or into the blood, and then the immune system goes on alarm, causing problems, causing inflammation. And so we swell and we get big, and we're constantly fighting pathogens that are not real food. So unfortunately, if we eat plant-based real food, this is what our body's used to having, and it's what we want. But when we start eating a lot of processed foods, the body really rebels to that. And then also, sugar is inflammatory, dairy is inflammatory, and gluten is inflammatory to the system. So all those three things we really need to monitor and reduce as much as we can, those three things, to reduce the inflammation, okay? Now, the reason why I say this is inflammation causes the body to react, to become very fluidy. It feels like it's being attacked by invaders, okay? So the body builds a lot of fluid around all these tissues. And then the tissue, what we're actually putting into our body, the SAD American diet, SAD, standard American diet, excuse me, is are pathogens or things that are not, like I said, not normal food or not normal foods that we're used to. So the body rebels, and then we end up fighting this process, and they're actually toxins. They are actually considered toxins in the body. And unfortunately, what happens is if we put enough toxins in the body, eventually, and we don't get rid of them with the lymphatic system, they will eventually start mutating into things that we don't want. And we all understand what that is. We don't want to go into a dis-ease in our system. So with a lot of toxins, which is unfortunately, the standard American diet that we've been living on for so long is producing a lot of toxins, and the toxins eventually will mutate into something we don't want. So
Okay.
our lymphatic system is very important to be cleaning out these toxins.
Talk a little bit about body work. I mean, you've kind of already demonstrated a little bit of kind of how we move and keep that lymphatic
Right.
system going. But, there's regular massage,
Right.
deep tissue and Swedish. But then there's also Reiki and Rolfing and CranioSacral, which is how
Right.
I met you,
Right.
working with you on that. But just, maybe not, specifics, a dissertation, but kind of like an overview for people who may not be familiar, because it wasn't until I started doing some research on my own about 10 years ago that I found out that there was more than just going to get
Oh,
a massage.
absolutely. Absolutely. There's all forms of different body work. There's energy work, which is Reiki. Okay. Energy work is, all right. I ask people, so how does your phone work? You call, and somewhere along the line, there's a wave that goes from one point to the other. So really, what is energy? Energy work is the opportunity to, we're all energy. Our entire body is nothing but an energy system, like a battery. Okay. It's all positive, negative. This tissue is just moving a little less vibration wise than the air around me is. But we're all electrical beings, all positive, negative. So energy work is where the therapist might put their hands above and below you. So I get here, above and below you, interjecting energy into the tissue, helping that tissue to soften and to relax. Okay, so energy work is it deals with meridians. Are you familiar with the word meridians? Which
I
is
am.
energy system that runs through the bodies from from one organ to the other. And that deals with acupuncture. Acupuncturists deal with the meridians. So it's really important that the meridian system is balanced so that each organ receives the amount of energy that they need to function as properly as possible. So that's, in a sense, a positive negative flow from one organ to the other. So energy and energy work comes in many forms. But what we need to remember as a body and as a beautiful human being is our whole system is based on energy. Have you ever walked into a party and thought, there's somebody I think I might want to meet?
Yes.
And you don't even know who they are. Okay. Or you look at the other side of the room and you think, there's no way I want to talk to that dude.
Right.
So what did you just do there?
You assess their energy.
Right. You felt something from them. You assessed their energy. So how do you describe that to somebody? You looked at them, you saw them, you thought, and then the other one's definitely. So basically we're reading energy work when we're doing that. So it's trusting your intuition, your gut. You're reading the energy flow between the two of you. So energy, it's really sort of difficult to say this is energy, but we feel it all the time in those kind of situations. Okay. So we trust that, we learn how to use that, and we know how, as therapists, we learn how, as therapists, how to share that. Okay? So that's would be energy work. All right, which is Reiki, and then there's all kinds of other forms of energy work. CranioSacral therapy deals with the cranium, and then the sacral, which is the tailbone. So CranioSacral therapy deals with the cerebral spinal fluid that's around the brain, that flows all the way down to the tailbone, which nourishes all the neurological system. So CranioSacral therapy helps to keep the cerebral spinal fluid flow healthy. I compare it to keeping really good oil in your car. Okay, so if I add dirty oil to my car's not going to run very well.
Mm-hmm.
So CranioSacral therapy helps keep good cranial cerebral spinal fluid around the neurological system so that it can function as optimally as possible. And with CST, it's very gentle, very few manipulations. It just increases the cerebral spinal flow that nurtures the brain and the spinal cord. And really the best way to answer that is get on my table, I'll show you. I mean,
and so why might someone seek that particular modality?
Someone might seek that modality if they've had a head injury. All right. Because if we have a head injury or a tailbone injury, it can cause restrictions in the tissue around the brain. So we release those restrictions to allow that fluid to flow as optimally as possible, allowing the neurological system to operate as optimally as possible. Now, there's another whole side to CranioSacral therapy, and that is the Somato emotional release, which is releasing emotional trauma from the body so that our body can operate optimally. Okay. Unfortunately, the body does not designate the difference between a bat across the back of my head or it doesn't designate the difference between a bat that hits my heart or an emotional heartache. All right. So if somebody hurt my heart, hurt me heart-wise, okay, or somebody took a bat and hit me with a bat in my heart, the body does not designate the difference. It's a trauma. It's an energy that slammed into my heart, okay? So my body sort of protects that energy and protects it, so it's because it's a foreign object. So CranioSacral therapy's Somato emotional release helps to release these traumas, whether they are an emotional trauma or a physical trauma, which can be, we all experience emotional trauma, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it stays in our body, sometimes it goes on through us. Just like with an accident, sometimes you can have two people in a car and one person comes out totally okay, and the other person has all kinds of physical trauma to their body. It's just how our body receives an emotional hit. Like if I took an arrow and went, that emotional energy, whether it was a physical trauma or an emotional trauma, hits your body or my body and does different things to it. So we help individuals release those traumas with the Somato emotional release for CST.
So Edwin has a great question that goes right into what we're talking about right now.
Oh, okay. What are some misconceptions about the body work versus massage? Okay. In massage therapy, we are taught neuromuscular work and we're taught massage. Okay. Massage, therapeutic massage is where we address the body's tissue in a gentler way. And then we have, which is more of a feel-good massage. And then we have deep tissue neuromuscular massage, okay, which is where we actually have a concern at a muscle level, and we're trying to release those restrictions. So there's neuromuscular, and then there's therapeutic massage. So there are two totally different, it's a total study of the body and study of the muscles and the attachments and the insertions and all that, but we're addressing more dysfunction in the neuromuscular versus the Swedish massage, which is a feel-good overall just a feel-good massage type thing. Does that help?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Now, a lot of your recent work has primarily been in lymphatic drainage and in breast work. Can you walk my viewers through what that means?
Okay. All right. A lot of times we are given, we're told at a certain age that we need a breast a mammogram. All right. We go at age whatever, 30, 40, whatever it is they tell us to go. We get a mammogram. 50% of us at that age will come out being told that we have dense breast tissue. Okay. Dense breast tissue is simply where the tissue in the breast is tighter than a fatty and a non-dense breast tissue. There's nothing wrong with dense breast tissue, and there's nothing wrong with fattier tissue. Okay. Unfortunately, when we have a mammogram and they take a mammogram of this dense breast tissue, they can't see dysfunction as well in a dense breast tissue. Okay. So if you have dense breast tissue, and 50% of adult women do, first of all, every young woman has dense breast tissue. That's why they're not asking young women at age 24, 25, and 30 to have mammograms, because they can't see anything in the dense breast tissue. Now, once we get a little bit older and have some babies and maybe do nursing, some of our 50% of our breasts develop into dense, stay dense, and the other 50% get fatty. So at my mature age, my wonderful age that I am, majority of us are going to be dense breasted. So a mammogram is not a very good tool to examine that breast tissue. Actually, what we should do is go to and actually have an ultrasound, because the ultrasound can give us more information. So when we're told year after year that we have a clean mammogram, it really doesn't give us really good information. What I want people to understand is it takes 8 except for a couple different cancers. Okay, so there's 2 cancers that are very fast growing, but we won't go there right now. But for the majority of breast cancers, it takes 8 to 10 years of dysfunction, of toxins developing in the breast tissue, 8 to 10 years before it ever shows up as a form on a mammogram or an ultrasound. 8 to 10 years of dysfunction where we've not touched our breast, where we've not drank enough water, where we've not let our breast jiggle, move, okay, which is what we need to do to have healthy breasts, okay? So it's taken 8 to 10 years of toxins developing, mutating, and mutating before it ever shows up on a mammogram. So we've got an opportunity now. So we've got 8 years here, 8 to 10 years, that we can actually do something about healthy breast tissue, or to get our tissue healthier, so that we don't actually become 1 in 8. And right now, 1 in 8 women are developing breast disease because, number 1, we're not touching our breast. Number 2, we have no idea what's going on in our breast tissue. We're not drinking enough water, and we're not moving our lymphatic system. So there are tools that we have today to help improve this breast health, our breast tissue, before it shows up and we're 1 in 8. So literally, I don't know how many viewers we have, but 1 in 8 of us will develop breast disease, which means the C word, okay? If we don't start touching our breast tissue, drinking a lot of water, and move our lymphatic system. And what we teach is how to move our lymphatic system. And for the breast, if we simply did this, moving right along the clavicle, we have a lot of lymph nodes right here. So if I empty the lymph nodes here gently, the lymph nodes from here will fill in and empty into here. And then the lymph nodes, move this, under my breast area, which serves as the gathering place for all of the breast. Okay, the breast empty into the underarm, and from here they fill up the lymph nodes. That fluid comes up, and then we push it into the heart at this area. So simply if I could get women to simply do this, press flat under the arm up towards mid-clavicle, and then take their hands and manipulate their breast tissue over and over and drink a lot of water. We could change 1 in 8 of women developing breast cancer if we could simply get them to do this. I mean, there's many other tools that we have. We have a certain massage that we use for our breasts, but we don't even have to go into that now. If we could just simply do this, literally this, a flat hand here, and move this tissue, even with your clothes on, we could change the 1 in 8 women developing breast cancer. What we also want people to understand is if they truly examine their breast tissue, they'll know what's in there, so that if something changes for the worse, they're going to know it rather than waiting for a doctor to tell them every year. And actually right now, the doctors don't even do an exam unless you ask them to. For your yearly physical. They've said it's not a value. I don't know why they've decided that. They're saying it is not of value. So it is our responsibility as individuals to take care of our own breast. So if I do anything tonight, number 1, I want you to drink water. Number 2, I want you to know that you can make a difference in your own breast tissue. And we do not have to be 1 in 8. We do not. All we have to do is move this tissue. We need to go without our bras, get them off as soon as we can get home. Quit wearing underwires, because underwires are causing a real problem under the tissue. We somewhere along the line, we were told wearing an underwire bra was really cool. I don't know where that came in, but it damages the tissue, and actually wearing bras too much doesn't allow our breasts to jiggle. And we need them to jiggle. We need to exercise. We need to move. We need to jump on the mini trampoline. We need to get on a vibration plate. We need these to jiggle. Okay. They have to jiggle. Okay. All right. For instance, if my body was a sponge, like I talked about, the sponge and trying to clean out the cheese from the night before, it was sitting here and it was wet, and I just let it sit here. And let's put it this way. Let's say I even locked it into a bra and never let it move. Okay. All right. None of those toxins or none of that cheese is going to move. But if I sat there and poured a lot of water on it, and jiggled it, what would happen? Some of that cheese, some of those toxins would move out, and therefore reducing the possibility of those toxins to mutate into something we don't want. It's so very simple. Hydrate and move the lymphatic system after we've taught you how to move it. And it's so simple because it's right on the front of your body. We have control of it ourselves. We just have to learn about this stuff is all, because we're not told about this stuff. So hydrate, move the lymphatic system, and let them jiggle. Let them move.
Now, is this also important for men? Because while rare, there are men who get breast cancer. I know Richard Roundtree is one of them.
1% of men develop breast cancer. 1 in 8 women develop breast cancer. So the everything we're speaking of lymphatic-wise serves for the same thing for men. Everything. Okay. Everything we've talked about.
So we got a question from Shanice from Orlando.
What does the motion of your breast do to the tissue? It makes it very healthy. It takes that sponge and rinses it out so the toxins don't mutate in the future. So now, granted, some women are very large-breasted. We don't want them to hurt themselves. So what we suggest is that they wear large sports bras and let them be supported, because we don't want them to hurt themselves. Okay, that's not the purpose. We want them supported, and we don't want them to hurt themselves. So we suggest that they use large sports bras instead. And then there's also different companies that you can actually get bras that have a piece of fabric support that fits under the breast rather than using the underwires. The underwires actually stops a real problem. It causes a real problem with the energy flow. Okay. Underwires cause a problem with energy flow. Plus, when you're wearing an underwire, you can see areas where the end of the underwires hit here and where the underwires hit on the side, where they're causing a real problem with congestion, which is where when those underwires hit, they don't allow that tissue to move. And then what happens is there's areas that start getting hard because the tissue doesn't move, okay? And they get hot, and then they could start mutating. Now, what I want to make sure everybody understands is there is a way to find out the health of your breast tissue well before you find something on the mammogram. There's a thing called a thermogram. Are you familiar with that term at all? A thermogram.
I am.
Okay. A thermogram, a lot of people remember the Boston bomber, and the second brother was under the boat cover, and the helicopter found his form under the boat cover. Do we remember that? Okay. There was a thermal camera on the helicopter, and they saw his body under the boat cover. So they could tell that he was there because his body was warmer. Okay. So what they saw was the inflammation under the boat cover, the heat. Okay. It's just like night vision for the Army. So what we do with thermography, we take images of the breast tissue with a thermal camera so we can tell that this area is hotter than this area over here. So we can tell that that area is starting to get in trouble. So that once we find out that that area is hotter than the other side in relationship, we can teach these women how to break this up and get it out. And a lot of the reasons why it's there is because we've not been allowing this breast tissue to move and jiggle to get the toxins out of the tissue. So with thermography, which Gay Walden at Holistic Breast Health does thermography here in town, she does an excellent job on showing you how healthy your breast tissue is. And we can tell you 8 to 10 years before you develop actually that 0.5 centimeter that mammograms pick up. 8 to 10 years of dysfunction happening in the breast tissue prior to them seeing something on the mammogram. There's a way to be very, very preventative with this. It's amazing. It's amazing. But we don't know, a lot of people don't know about this.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you definitely specialize in the healing arts. How would you say that relates or supports or goes along with traditional medicine?
Okay. God gave us all a wonderful brain. So traditional medicine is a wonderful tool. Okay. We need the oncologist. We need radiation. We need chemotherapy. We need all of those tools. It's just how much are they used is the question. And the next question is can we do more preventative medicine versus reactionary medicine? The traditional medicine that we deal with today is more of a reaction to symptoms. What integrative medicine wants to do and holistic medicine wants to do, we want to treat the cause. We want to get to the cause of the concern rather than wait for the concern to develop into something that we have to treat. So traditional medicine is wonderful. Antibiotics and all that is wonderful. Personally, I don't want to use them. I want to stay healthy to the point where I don't need to have them. Okay. But if I need to have an antibiotic, I will be happy to take it. And then I will take probiotics and other things to help my stomach take care of that. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What we've learned is valuable information. It just needs to be monitored. The medical system today needs to be monitored, especially the pharmaceuticals need to be monitored when they're given a little bit more. And the medical tools that we have are very, very valuable. If I have a broken leg and my knee, my bone is broken, you better bet I'm going to be in the hospital and have it repaired. But if I have a pulled muscle, I'm going to do some exercises and stretches, and I'm going to try to get that relaxed before I go have some x-rays or something, okay? So prevention is really where I think the new medicine is coming into. Prevention. Get to the source of the concern before it gets out of control.
All right. And so let's say someone has developed dis-ease in the body, whether that's breast cancer or throat cancer or even prostate cancer, along with the traditional medicine and the traditional treatments, whether that's chemotherapy, whether that's radiation, are there things that people can do while going through traditional treatment to
Absolutely.
help heal?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Diet is huge. Diet is huge. We have been eating processed foods for way too long. We need to eat plant-based foods. We need to grow our own foods in the garden, in our backyard. And I had mentioned earlier to you, there's a gentleman named Thomas Elijah III on LinkedIn. You can connect with him. Uh,
He just posted. I think he was getting ready to kind of to talk about the importance of gardening and eating
yes,
clean.
yes, he is a master gardener, and he is a wonderful resource on finding out how to grow your own food in your garden. So you can reach him on LinkedIn, Thomas Elijah III on LinkedIn. So great resource for home gardening for that. So if we were to start eating better foods, okay, along with our therapies, okay, we can actually have better lymphatic work done, we teach people how to do their own lymphatics, because everywhere that all the gathering areas on the lymphatic area is on the front of our body. So we can physically get our own hands on this, so we can learn how to do better lymphatic work for ourselves, so that we can clean out the toxins in our body so that they won't continue to mutate. Especially with chemo and radiation, we can add like IV vitamin C IV therapy. There's glutathione IVs that we can do. There's all kinds of different holistic type things that we can add to our current system that a lot of us are dealing with, to help counter the toxicities of the cancer protocols and the chemotherapy and radiation protocols. There's certain things you can do to help your tissue when you're dealing with radiation, that type of thing. So there are
Okay.
tools.
So then, would lymphatic drainage, would that help? Like while you're going through, let's say,
Absolutely.
radiation? Okay.
Absolutely. Let's say if we have surgery, we've been given anesthesia. So lymphatic work will help get this anesthesia out of the body sooner. So will craniosacral therapy. It will help move that fluid out of the tissue. So if you have surgery, you should have some kind of lymphatic work done, because whenever we with the lymphatic system is right on the surface. 75% of the lymphatic system is right on the surface. So anytime you have an incision, we have to teach that lymphatic system how to run across that incision again. And once we do that, otherwise, because for instance, moms have C-sections. Okay, so they've got an incision across just above their pelvic floor area. And if they don't get some work done there, they end up sometimes with a pooch. I know I'm talking to a lot of women here, and they know what I'm talking about. So we end up with a little pooch right above that C-section. What happens is we didn't do any work on that incision. If we work on that incision, we can reteach the lymphatic system where to flow properly, so we don't have a lot of fluid buildup there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, like, helping to move toxins out of the body. Do you work with people on dry brushing? Is that another way to
Absolutely.
move?
Absolutely. Dry brushing is great. But what we want to do is to teach you how to clear the area that's closest to the heart first, then do the dry brushing. For instance, if I have
Okay.
a broken finger and it's swollen, this finger is eventually going to drain all the way up my arm, into my underarm, up, and then into my clavicle. So what we like to teach people is, let's clear the clavicle first, so that this fluid has to come up. This fluid, let me get over into the camera, so that this fluid comes down, then this comes down, and then I go back and repeat and empty this. If I empty this area first, this area has to come up. I'm trying to do this. This area has to come down, and eventually I don't even have to touch my finger, because I've drained this fluid into the lymphatic system and into the heart, and I don't really have to touch my finger. It has to empty. If I empty downstream or upstream towards the heart, I don't really have to even touch my finger, because it will empty out. It's a vacuum system. Always
Wow.
closest to the heart, and then everything from, all right, this is closest to the heart for that area, and then this clears out, and then everything from here has to come on in. So we teach this type of thing. And
Wow.
we will, when I say we teach this, we will talk to any group that gathers. We are constantly
Okay.
educating, and that's our love, is to educate.
Well, I know that for the viewers, Effie is based in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, and I may have a group to connect you with in the Charlotte area. So I'll definitely keep you posted.
Please.
Hey, Cassandra Jolliffe. As we get ready to wrap up, I do want to ask you this. What do you think the long-term legacy is going to be on, I guess, this period
Oh,
on our health history with the pandemic and everything that's happening right now?
oh my! I just think number one, we're going to end up growing a lot of gardens in our back, doing a lot of food growing in our backyards. And if we do that, then we can eat real food, and we don't have to worry about the delivery of food coming from across the United States and that food being half grown. We can eat real plant-based food. And I see a real resurgence of gardens, farms, small farms in our backyards to grow real food. That's going to be one of the main things. Another thing is, I think we're going to realize that a lot of families are changing, and we're going to have to get really creative in how we live in the world that we're in today. All right. A lot of families and marriages and relationships are either going to improve, and hopefully that's where they're going to go. They're going to improve. We're going to learn to communicate better, to dialogue better with our neighbors, with our loved ones in a way, in our community, dialogue and get to know each other's stories better so that we can really communicate and love each other in a way that we've never loved before. I think the pandemic and a lot of the things that we're dealing with right now today are really going to bring us a lot of gifts, but we're going to have to get really creative on how we handle this. But I see nothing but positive results in dealing with the virus and dealing with our diversity that we're dealing with today. I just see absolutely beautiful changes coming our way with this, but it's going to take really good sharing and dialoguing, and which is going to improve our emotional health. And our emotional health is truly, truly very, very important. And this body being whole. So we have to do a full mind, body, and spirit change and effort and sharing so that we can grow together. Very important.
Now, we do have a holiday coming up at
Yes.
the end of the week. So Edwin has a great question that goes right into that.
Okay, let's see. 4th of July is around the corner. It's time for the year that we really indulge in we can if we choose to. We can if we choose to. I'm going away this weekend to visit some family, and we're going to be very careful. All right. And I'm preparing all kinds of food to take with me. And it's not a sad diet. Okay.
Okay.
So I've chosen to prepare the food prior to. Okay. I've chosen to take good, clean water with me. I don't know where what the water source is going to be where I'm going. So I'm going to take good, clean water with me.
Okay, explain that. I don't want to cut you off, but explain what you mean when you say you're taking good, clean water with you.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to knock Charlotte's water system or anybody else's water system, but a lot of water systems have fluorine and chlorine in it, and those are really problems with our body. And there's a lot of excess toxins. Yes, we know we're told that it's clean, but we're exposing ourselves. All right, 60% of our body is water. So if we put water that isn't as toxic free into our body, then we're adding a lot of extra toxins. So I drink water that has less toxins in it. By filtering it, I try not to eat foods that are exposed to a lot of pesticides. Okay, I try to eat as organic as I possibly can. I try to grow as much foods as I can to eat myself, so that I don't put trash into my body Trash in gives you trash out. So I try to do as much clean eating as I can. So yes, I will indulge in some possibly SAD food this weekend. I possibly will. I won't eat much of it because I will not feel very well when I come home, because my body reacts to unclean food at this point because I'm
Okay.
Does that make sense? But yes,
It does.
It's all about balance. Okay. Yes. Enjoy yourself, but try to get as cleaned out as you can after the fact, if that's what you do. Okay.
All right. So let me talk through it. I'm almost afraid to say what we might have, so I don't want to say it all, but
It's
so
about
let's say we
okay.
could do like because I made a I don't know, I call it a cucumber salad tonight, and so it
Oh,
was just cucumbers, red onions, cherry tomatoes, and then I made a vinaigrette with Italian olive oil, apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, cumin, some other spices. Just threw it all together.
can I come?
Sure. So honestly, I would like to have potato salad on the 4th, but maybe that salad along with, instead of maybe a ground beef burger,
Right.
maybe a turkey burger. I don't know if we're going to go plant-based, but maybe a turkey burger
Okay.
or a chicken burger or something like that.
Or
Is that a good way to balance?
yes, 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 by all means. And for instance, that's excellent what you're speaking. Okay. I mean, you can buy, if you're going to eat meat, eat a good organic based meat or grass fed meat. That's one way of doing it. Try to eat local grown vegetables. Know who your farmer is. Know who you buy your food from.
That's what
Know,
my guest said last night. So I like the exact same thing. She
oh,
said the exact same thing.
okay.
And the fact that we don't know, like you don't know your butchers anymore. You don't know where the food is coming from.
No, no, no. So I do a lot of Costco organic meats. If I'm going to eat meats, I do. I'm not trying to put a dig into Costco, but we take like an organic red meat and put in black beans, onions, mushrooms, just all kinds of things into that burger, and it is delicious. You know, that type of thing. So we doctor up ours. A lot of garlic, a lot of ginger. You name it, it's in there. The main thing is good, healthy, local food if you can find it. That's the best. And your salad sounds wonderful.
Oh,
Absolutely.
it's so simple. It's something I kind of it was one day, it was just out of like, oh, there's no vegetables. This is what I have. Let's see if it goes
Right,
together.
right. And a good organic turkey is great for a substitute for red meat, you know. But you're speaking really healthy food, what you're coming off with. I'd love to join you. It may be better than what we're doing.
Like I said, I really want the potato salad though, and I don't know how to make healthy
Oh,
potato salad. I'm gonna be
no,
honest, I
no.
don't.
Try avocado mayo.
Okay, I'm familiar with it. I've never had it, but I have
Excellent.
heard it. Or like a veganese mayonnaise. I've seen
Right.
that as well.
Try an avocado mayo. It's a very
Okay.
good substitute. Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm. Right.
I'll have to look into that.
Mhm.
Well, Effie, thank you so much for all of this great information for all of my viewers, those of you who are live, those of you who will be catching this on the replay. Effie's website is at the bottom of the screen. She is based in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. She just mentioned it about 5 or 10 minutes ago. She loves to come out and educate
I will be.
people, but she's also still a practicing therapist. So if you'd like to make an appointment for some type of work, whether that's with breast health or even craniosacral massage, which is how I work with her in the past, definitely reach out. Any parting words before we go from
Yes,
you?
Angela, on my website, I have everything we do about breast health. The whole process of breast exam and everything is in there. Okay. So you just log in. There's a website, there's a information area, and then there's a back area that you have to log into to see the videos. But they are literally breast education videos on how to take care of breast care. Okay. Anybody,
Okay.
anybody has access to it. If you have any questions, especially if you have any questions about implants, we're very, very well versed on implants concerns. So anybody has questions, please call us, contact us. We'll answer whatever we can. We'll give you as much time as possible.
Awesome.
Thank
All
you.
right. Effie, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you so much, Angela. We'll do it again.
Yeah, we will. We definitely will. We'll probably have 2 or 3 more times that we have
Okay.
so much information to cover.
Great. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that is it for this Tuesday night edition of the Angela Ray Show. As always, I'd like to remind you of Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you all to go out and be the change. Have a great evening.